Welcome to another episode of Low Gear. In episode 16, I spoke to Bruce Julian about his days driving the Scammell constructor for Shell BP Todd in New Plymouth. Well, I've actually found this truck, and in a moment we'll pop down to the Wairarapa and take a look at it. But first, a little refresher about this truck with Bruce.
That there, that truck's lifting a 35-tonne mud pump there. That's used down around the Kapuni gas field in that occasion, and she winches that onto her back. The winch is just behind the cab. It's got about a 12-inch roller right across the back, and run the winch rope out and onto this big skid, and everything for the rig sites, and that was built on skids so they could shift them and for lifting with cranes, you know. Anyway, we hook onto there and start sucking it up on the winch, and the rope went over the roller, and as it tightened that rope, it just lifted the front wheels up. Lifted the front wheels 6 foot in the air, and then it pulled it straight up the tray of the truck, and once it overbalanced, it just come up slowly, and it just go down nice and steady like that. Just bring it forward another 2 or 3 inches, cross-chain your load on, and then take it to wherever, the next well site.
You might remember a few shows ago we did a story where we interviewed Bruce Julian, and Bruce's job was to drive the pipes all the way from New Plymouth to Huntly and the Maui gas pipes. You might remember that story. And then after that he told us about the truck that he drove, a Scammell. Well, here it is, and welcome to our little show.
Thanks, Bill.
Warren.
Thank you.
And you're the proud owner of this Scammell?
I am the proud owner, and it's I've had it for around about 20 plus years, and it came into my possession sort of quite by chance after a long New Zealand search for where did the Scammell disappear to after Shell BP Todd and Bruce Julian days. Yeah.
It's you see the photograph. Look at this photograph, folks. You might remember this one where it's up in the air dragging a load onto the back of it, and when the load got to the point, the whole lot sort of went down and went a bit further and off
away went. Yeah, so one can imagine this wheel probably up about this height here. All a bit scary.
But you can certainly see those big coil springs that are in the front there when this thing's up in the air. So, and this is the original bull bar that was on it at the time.
Yep.
And one of the interesting things that you've told me is that there's these holes, there's a little hole on the end of here, folks, and I probably wouldn't do that if I was in Australia. But Bruce was telling us that there was a little bit of a storeroom. Yes,
they used to keep their work crowbars in there. You'd probably get 3 or 4 good suitable length crowbars in there for jiggling those heavy loads around. Yeah. So they wouldn't certainly fall out, but and a bit more ballast in the front perhaps.
And I'm just going to, let's walk to the back.
It's a bit of a journey, Bill, down here.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and a bit. A good 13 metres long.
Yes, a lot of truck.
There's a lot of truck. Yeah. Warren, my only reference to the Scammell is the one we saw down in Christchurch. And it was a 4x4, I think, but it had the same diff as what's under here, which is interesting. I hadn't seen a diff, well, the only time I've seen another diff like this is on that truck.
Yes, it's quite similar to Scammell. They're a double reduction system, very immensely strong, and also would take heavy loads in articulation, because hence the torsion rods on here.
Oh yes, it would,
There's a leaf and a torsion rod back end. Yeah, so very strong.
Very strong, and this is the double drive, so it's got 2 of these.
2 drive shafts.
The same.
Yes.
I mean, 2 diffs the same.
Yes, agreed, and 2 independent drive shafts, so that will equalise traction, so there's no splitter needed in this situation.
And it's an under-over drive shaft.
Yes, yeah.
Let's look at the drive shaft. One goes along the bottom and then it goes into another one and it doubles down to the other one. Yes. Come and have a look at this. But just before we go, the size of this chassis. I mean, this is absolutely bulletproof.
This heavy steel here was put on by a previous owner. It had a apprentice log loader on it, and when it
Okay.
operated in Kaingaroa Forestry. So this is an extra, but under there is just all pure deep chassis.
Yeah, it's just
Carry immense loads. I think Bruce mentioned that he was carrying a 35-tonne load on it, and you can see how it's capable of doing it.
absolutely
Yeah.
is. Yeah. Have a look at these drive shafts. Warren, these drive shafts. Now, was this just like a connector? It's not a gearbox or anything. It's just a place to have the top drive shaft and the bottom drive shaft, and that's just where they.
Yes, it's a sectional drive shaft. There's drive shaft support bearings there,
Yep.
and so that they were both supported under here. So the longer one to the rear diff went through another support there, then walked on again. This one here went directly to this. So this was a direct two. There was no other support bearing involved.
So it's pretty simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's a decent drive shaft. That's
Yes.
for sure.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
bad.
Be a huge rating on that.
Absolutely, there is. Yeah.
But once again, it's a drive shaft that didn't spin huge speeds, huge torque build up because the truck was only a slow moving truck, but still required tremendous thrust through these drive shafts. Yeah.
These are the cables. Are they the brakes or the seat?
I think it possibly will be part of the braking system, although it's an air over hydraulic system. That's what you'll see, an air chamber down there.
Yep.
That works the brake through. That could be some other part of there of it. We should discover what it is for one day. But it will certainly be doing something in there.
You're telling me it's got a full-time greasing system.
Yes, there's a central auto lube system on it. There's a series of grease nipples which will go to various points, possibly to do in the front end or somewhere towards the back end here. It does still, in fact, some of the pipes are there, you can see
Yeah, I can
there.
see those,
The
yeah.
copper pipes, that will be part of the lube system. Still involved today. It's a great system, auto lube systems. Those grease points get grease.
Amazing.
This is a brake system that will brake the transmission for engagement either of high-low transmission. So we've got the rear input shaft going out here and the front input shaft to the front diff going out here.
Yeah.
And the other one picks up higher up there. On the other side is the long drive shaft, which is currently connected right through.
Wow.
So well engineered.
Certainly is.
They certainly could build trucks in those days, yeah.
Yeah, birds nest.
Well, at least it keeps the engine nice and warm.
Pass it here.
I'll pop it up there.
And that looks very similar to the one that's down south.
This is Rolls-Royce.
Rolls-Royce, it says there.
Yes, it is. It's a black numbered Rolls-Royce or black coloured. There were various colours in Rolls-Royce. I believe it's about 180 horsepower. Natural aspirated. It's actually currently showing 5,000 engine hours, so it's not high.
No.
No. Compressor there for braking system. Starter motor down here. One bolt takes it off, just one simple bolt withdraws the starter motor. Designed for in-field repairs.
Beautiful. Rolls-Royce. Some say that, I mean, old Stan Williamson, he had Rolls-Royce in his Scammells.
Yes, he did, in those Scammell Crusaders. Yes.
And not many people liked them though. They didn't hack the pace. They rather have a GM.
Yes, certainly the GM two-stroke, far more lively performer.
Yep.
But I suppose in reality, the Rolls-Royce, it's built for quality, and as I say, they would fix them in the world because Rolls-Royces didn't break down. And,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, there might be some people somewhere. That
Yeah,
agree with
I'm
you
sure I'll be corrected on that. But it's an engine when it runs. It actually sounds very much like a 350 Cummins. It's got that English heritage, of course, with the Cummins as the Rolls-Royce. Yeah,
there. Sure. Let's have a look in this cab.
that was a bit rough in there, Bill.
Oh, it's all right. I really just wanted to have a look at the gearing system, which is the same as the one we saw. And just looking into that cab, folks, have a look at that. There's the big flat pan gear stick with the little rails that you move the gear stick along with. There's the seat that Bruce would have sat on back in the day. It actually looks quite well sprung.
Not. I don't think there's a spring to be seen on it. No.
And then there's another knob on the other side of that. What's that for? So they've got a gear stick and then there's another stick sticking up.
That's a four-wheel drive, or the engagement with a six-wheel drive.
Okay, and this is the handbrake, is it?
That's a handbrake,
Yep.
the electric, and the other long lever is the winch. Sorry, this is winch control. The other one's a handbrake.
The handbrake's right beside you, right sticking
Yeah,
into your hip when you... Gonna hold me? Okay, moving right over into where Bruce spent a lot of his time. Squeeze over. Now, the steering wheel sort of away up here. Put your foot up onto the accelerator, which is sitting on its own pedestal. I can see what he brake, clutch, somewhere to put your boot when you're not doing anything, and the high-low, the gears. This is for the winch, and the handbrake is right here. Everywhere, I guess, where it should be. Now, just looking around this cab, you have to say it's pretty much an OLB Bedford. And I'll talk to Warren in a minute, but Bedford and Scammell were in bed together. So obviously, yeah, you build us this, we'll make you a cab. Come up and have a look at this. And you might remember Bruce saying that if you want reverse, you've got to go away all through all these gears to get there. So let's start from the beginning. So first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and if you want to go backwards, you go all the way back down to here with this gear stick. So there's no shortcuts. You don't just go like that. You got to go. Interesting. Only the Poms would think of something like that, really. And on the steering wheel, we've got a horn, we've got a hand throttle, we've got the brakes, and we've got a hill start. This a hill start assist, they call that. And yeah, electric windscreen wiper on the top. The visibility, sure, there's a bit of lichen on there now, but the actual visibility is very good. Looking out the front, because of the bonnets going in like that, you've got good visibility down the side, so you're going to see if there's anybody in front of you. And this is the dashboard. It's the other one had the OLB Bedford, and let it run along like that, if you can see that, but this one's actually gone to the next stage. It's got its own panel to put the instruments in. There they are. Looks like the starter just there. Turn the key on, push the starter, boom, away we went. It says on this little notice here, on the top of the engine cowling, it says the use of this vehicle for any private purposes is prohibited. Shell BP and Todd Oil Services Limited. So there you go. You're not allowed to do homers with it. Bugger. But it must have been a real buzz, Bruce, sort of, you know, shipping around the countryside in this thing. This is just massive. That cab has got OLB Bedford written all over it.
Oh, very much so, yes.
And you're telling me that they were in bed together, Scammell and Bedford.
It was a long relationship when they got into cab over trucks, or conventional cab trucks, when they went away from the very early Scammell design. They needed a partner, so it was Bedford who was chosen, being English. But what variant of cab that is, I don't really know, but I'm sure a good Bedford enthusiast about to say that is exactly so. So the truck was possibly manufactured between 55, no, sorry, it was later than that, 54 to about 62. So that cab era will fit some in that group. Sure. So yeah, someone will tell us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that cab offset?
Yes, the offset on that because possibly, I don't know, I'd say 300-400 mils, about yo far.
Off to the right.
Off to the right. Visibility for the driver, hence to see more so in front, because otherwise you'd be looking purely at a bonnet and anything down close. It's quite a common thing in heavy off-highway trucks, or on-road in this case can be. It's a dual-purpose truck, but quite often it was to offset the cabs. Canadian, if it was American left-hand drive, the cab would be offset to the left, but in this case offset to the right. It's just the sheer structure of the trucks, as well known for the heavy off-highway trucks, log trucks, offset cabs, as in America.
I know sitting in it just now, although that liken's on the window, but I could certainly see, you know, the visibility was better than what I thought it would be.
I know visibly, because I've actually driven that truck around and had a lot of fun in it, and you can see the road quite clearly down in front of you, that lovely vision just between on that offset of the cab.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
That bull bar certainly impressive.
Genuine factory specification, that was built on all the oil field model as this truck is.
Oh, okay.
And that's a standard specification built for them. Not all the trucks came with bull bars, some did. This is a factory fitted option there.
And that,
it came as a standard
sure,
feature.
And that radiator is just the era?
That is the era time, but I understand that if a core breaks in that radiator, it can be taken out, each individual core can be taken out manually, and a new core put in or repaired and put back in, once again being able to be serviced in the field under extreme conditions. So it's no good being in the radiator in the desert and ringing up the radiator repairman saying, I want a new core. It's not going to work, so that can be repaired. Possibly a very efficient radiator too, with that extraordinary little cooling system on each individual core.
And the size of those tyres?
1420s.
Good God.
Yeah, so they're a big radius tyre designed to carry big loads.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it looks like it might have a crank handle business in the front there, right between the two holes in the front. There's that little shaft bit sticking out there. Is that for a crank handle?
I haven't found the crank handle yet. Bill must be there somewhere, but I'm sure that is a cranking hole. Scammell's, even the earlier models, they had various systems of cranking without electric start, so they could be manually started in the field if need be. So I haven't found a decompression lever on there. There could well be, hence you would be able to crank it and flick the decompression, and I'm sure it would fire up pretty quick, but other than that it would be a big crank. But
Absolutely.
I'm sure it would be there.
No, it's certainly a big truck for its time. In fact, probably one of the biggest trucks in New Zealand in 1960. Mind you, the Pacifics and the Kenworths were... No, they weren't. No, 1960, this would have been one of the biggest trucks in the country.
Ice most certainly wasn't it. The early Pacifics came in and they were capable extraordinarily, but this, bear in mind, this truck was also an on-road truck, as some of the Pacifics were, but this is a dedicated specialist built truck for the oil fields, hence the behind cab winch, its load carrying abilities, just what it could do. But it is one of the biggest rigid trucks, possibly even to this day, that was ever came into New Zealand shores.
Wow, and here it is.
Yep.
All this time, how many years later?
Oh, 20 plus, Bill.
50?
20
20 plus, yes, of course, yes.
I don't know, there was a gap from when Bruce Julian finished driving to what happened. We know some of the history of it, but yeah, it's been here for some time. But
An interesting little pamphlet you've given me, Warren. It's all about this truck, and there it is. Constructor 6-wheel drive, 21-foot 9 wheelbase, full oil fields truck, fitted with a winch, tail roller, headache rack, and gin poles. Load capacity 40,000 pounds.
And Bruce used to put on 35 tonne, I think. So exceeded the 40,000 a wee bit, but hey, certainly within capability of the truck.
And it says here, for stability, sound design and workmanship, discerning operators choose Scammell.
There you go.
Dun, da, da, da. And that's the difference. There's the oil fields 12-foot, Mountaineer, Constructor, Explorer, and those were the models, I
Yes,
guess.
I think there's the gin poles up on the oil field model, showing it in operation.
Yeah, and that came with it.
Yes, they were standard. They folded down lengthways down the deck and
Might
tucked in
remember,
nicely.
folks, Bruce telling us about pulling one of those ship's anchors, and the poles just fitted onto the back of the truck. They just sat on the side of the deck, put them up, and then he could lift up a ship's anchor, but he needed a forklift in the front of it to actually hold it down.
The scuff marks are probably still on the
Yeah,
bumper
I'm sure
somewhere.
they are, yeah. Anyway, Warren, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, and it's just great to see the photos and listen to the man who drove the thing, his story about the but to see the thing in real life, an absolute treat. So there you go, folks, the old Scammell.
Cheers.
If you're a farmer, why not take a look at JSwap Stock Foods webpage? First choice for New Zealand farmers, JSwap Stock Foods. Swap Stock Foods supplies proven stock food supplements to beef and dairy farmers throughout New Zealand. Swaps have worked hard for farmers over 70 years. They know farmers well and enjoy dealing direct with them. Their various stock food products are stored in and distributed from large storage facilities both in the North and South Islands. They've recently filled their long-awaited new Bell Block store with a full shipment of their stock food product, and this has more than doubled their storage capacity in Taranaki. Their website is full of stock food information, and I'm sure you'll find it most helpful. So check it out, www.swapstockfoods.co.nz. You'll be glad you did. And don't forget, they support our show. So good on them. And if you're a beef or dairy farmer, why not take a look at what they can do for you today? www.swapstockfoods.co.nz. Mahindra have got a great deal on at the moment. You can get a 4x4 pickup ute like the one that we use for only $95 a week. It comes with a 2.2 litre turbo diesel, a 3-year 100,000 kilometre warranty, 3-year roadside assistance, 2.5 tonne tow capacity and a 1.1 tonne load capacity. A great machine and certainly a great workhorse. So check out Mahindra today, www.mahindra.co.nz. John, in our travels, we've seen lots of graders that have been towed by something, the motorless
right.
machines. But looking at this one, and it's got obviously the horse rider, so you know he sits up there, puts his boots on there, and the horses are out the front.
That's right.
And
yes.
all the wheels are operated by somebody at the back.
Exactly, a two-man machine.
A two-man machine.
Yes,
Woohoo.
or a two-person, I think, to be politically correct these days. One to drive the horses, and the other one to operate the controls governing the blade, which left the road surface hopefully nice and smooth.
Exactly. Now, it's just a work of art, this. It's just
Indeed it
easy on the eye.
Yes.
And what sort of age? Was it sort of like in the teens, 1910, 11, 12, somewhere around about there, if it's being towed with horses?
I can't be precise about this, but yes, it would be very, very early in the 20th century, I'm sorry. And things like this would have been in production right through into the 1920s. The horse is giving away, has obviously happened with this machine. It's got a rigid drawbar to the tractor, either a wheel tractor or a crawler tractor.
So he's gone from this nice, smooth, sprung seat to a...
For a jolting tractor, yes. Hope his tooth fillings were nice and secure, but not getting rid of anybody.
No. But looking at the operating wheels, all the little gears and levers to make this do its job. Which brings me to the point where graders isn't new. Graders have been around for a long, long time.
Indeed. Yes, they've been around for at least a century now.
Yes, exactly. And the blade, when they come to putting blades on the front of tractors, wheel tractors
Yes.
especially, tractors especially, somebody says, oh, let's just put a blade like off the
Exactly,
grader.
yes.
And so nothing's new.
It's just a question of size, that's
Yeah.
right. Nothing new under the sun at all, Bill.
No, let's have a look at the operating this thing.
Sure.
Now, you need to come and look at this, folks, just how this man standing on the back here has got to do things. So, first of all, I got a wheel between my legs that I have to adjust myself for. And what this does is, John was telling me, it actually moves this frame over to there or over this way so I can get a better view down the side of this machine. This one here turns the blade somewhere. So I've got this one and this one. These two alter the angle one way or the other. And then I've got a lever in front of me here that will lift it up and lift it down. But I'm just saying, and there's a brake. It looks like some sort of a brake, as on this side there's one. And down here there's another little lever. So you're a little bit like a one-armed paper hanger. John, comments?
Yes, the grader operator, as you can see, had no powered controls, so he'd need at least to be quite muscular. He'd also need to be very alert, because he'd be forever making adjustments with all of these controls to leave the road surface nice and smooth behind him. So yes, he'd be a very, very busy man, not just sitting up here in the sun having a snooze.
Like the driver.
Well, the driver could probably get away with it, not the fellow back here.
It's just interesting. And every one of these has the same amount of controls that we've looked at, but they're all
Yes,
slightly
they
different.
seem to follow a particular pattern of
yeah.
providing for the precise positioning of the grader blade.
And the wheels, or the operating wheels, are all built like this, all got this little
Yes,
wave curve in
very
them.
ornamental, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah.
Nowadays we just put straight spokes on them, if having wheels
Yeah,
are
even this
available.
has got a bit of fancy to it, you know, so
Yes.
the men who made these
Yes.
things must have been quite proud of their work to make it just that little bit special.
That's right.
Yeah.
The inner artist and the machinery designer popped out to the surface every now and again.
There you go. But you don't see these every day, folks, and as I say, it's just fascinating that graders go way, way back. A couple of shows ago we were down at Marlborough looking at very old graders, and this one was built in Christchurch in 1921. It's motorised, it's got a case engine in there to push it along with, and like the little Marlborough grader where it had this type of wheels, but they had one between your legs, one over here, and a couple of big ones on the side to adjust everything. This has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steel wheels. They've all got the steel spinners on them, make them easy to spin about. It's got a hand clutch and a gear lever and plenty of room, and I can see right down there, no worries at all where I'm going, what I'm doing. And just interesting, in 1921 this was doing its thing. And here's this other grader I was just telling you about. This is 1886, long before diesel engines, long before petrol engines. Steam was going all right, but this is a horse-drawn grader, and like the one in Marlborough, the man who operated horses sits here, feet there, out to the horses, and then his offsider is on the back, and it's pretty similar to the one that we saw in Marlborough, although it seems to me to be a bit lighter. The grade of steel seems to be a bit lighter, but when I'm standing on the back here, this is the operating platform, and like the one in Marlborough, I've got a wheel between my legs. I've got another wheel off to the side here, but in order to get these things I've actually got to lean forward a wee bit. So there must have been a bit more of a platform coming forward so I can operate and reach all these different levers. But and this is a lightweight version compared to what we were looking at in Marlborough. But as I was saying, graders have been around for a long, long time. I think just to conclude our little story on graders, is we're looking at something that's probably, if that last one was 1886, this has got to be 1870 something. It shows you how far back graders actually go. But this one, it's very, very back. It's just got this little pinion is riveted there, and if I start turning it, you can just see how it's all done so that it pulls up. And you'd have to be a big strong man doing this all day long, just doing it all by hand. If you wanted the other side, there's a simple little locking device here. You just lift that up, pull back on this one, up she comes. Yeehaw. Just let it go. And when I'm happy with the angle, I can just lock that so it just stays there, and you get pulled along by the horse till you're ready, and then you just simplicity, move that out of the way and lower it or lift it as required. And this one, I'm not sure what that one does, but probably goes that way, I guess, up and down. And a little lever here, which got a purpose as well, but not quite sure what. And there's a little lock here, you just unlock, and then I can just haul on that. Up goes that side of the blade. And when you're happy with the angle, you just move the little lock back, and or if you want to lift it up, you're travelling, want that blade right off the ground, just pull up the other side, and now we're freewheeling all the way back to morning tea. There we go. Now to lower the blade, just let it go this side, and down goes that blade. Awesome. So as I was saying, graders, they've been around a very long time indeed. And of course, if you got the easy job, I suppose, would have been just sitting up on this little seat here and gee up Noddy, off we go.